Looks like big changes by some airlines that will affect the points or the miles you earn when you travel. Among those, Delta Airlines, which announced it's going to a dollar-based program that appears to devalue the miles you might have already collected in some cases. So is this the beginning of the end for frequent flyer programs? Joining us now, Gary Leff from viewfromthewing.com. So Delta kind of stealthily took down the mileage award chart, the chart that lets you know if you want to get a free domestic ticket, you need to save up 25 or 50,000 miles, right?
That's right, John. It's great to be back on here with you. They've already changed the way they award miles when you fly, where $1 on price of your ticket determines the number of points that you're earning. What they did on Friday is they took down the price list that tells you how many points it costs for an award. And they've basically said the points price is whatever they tell you that a flight's going to cost on a given day.
So how are you supposed to know? I mean, a lot of people really watch those mileage accounts, really struggle to save the 50,000 miles or whatever they need to go fly off and see grandma. How are you supposed to know?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. People spend a long time saving up, whether it's for the domestic flight or for the aspirational award, the honeymoon or the anniversary trip. There's a goal in mind, and that's what really focuses the sort of loyalty and the accrual of points. I think what Delta's saying here is that that if they don't publish a chart, they don't have to tell you when the prices change, and they were able to determine on a given day what those are, and they want you just coming to their website and being told, here's an itinerary and here's the price. That may be a precursor to a change in the way that they price awards going forward. For now, it looks like they're still pricing awards the old way. That domestic 25,000 or more award sort of is what it is. It hasn't changed. But they've taken away any requirement or obligation on their part to tell you about those changes in advance.
20 years ago, or maybe a little more, when I was a globetrotting correspondent, I was always on airline seats. It was pretty common to have the middle seat open. So airlines had seats they could give away. They just weren't very good at filling up every seat on a plane. These days, if I get on a seat, if I get on a plane, it's pretty unusual not to have the whole thing sold out. Is that part of the reason that they just don't feel they need to? Well, first of all, they don't have the seats to give away like they used to, and they don't feel they need to encourage passenger loyalty like they used to?
I mean, that's absolutely right, John. Right now, with the economy good and planes full, they don't have to spend a lot of marketing dollars to fill those incremental seats. And that explains why the changes on the mileage accrual side have happened to a large degree. Although you're still earning a lot of points from things other than flying, your credit card spending, rental cars, any of the other things that do, like online shopping, to earn points are still as valuable and, in fact, relatively speaking, more valuable since you're earning more points that way compared to flying. Those flying, they don't have to spend as much. There are fewer seats available on the domestic airlines to redeem, but a great thing to do is look abroad to international airlines, the partners that Delta has, United, American has partners all over the world to take you anywhere that you want to go. So it is still possible to use your points. They are being less generous on the awarding of points, and certainly Delta's been really emboldened with the changes that they've been making and began to put in place about a month ago.
Gary Leff, viewfromthewing.com. Gary, thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
You bet. Well, travelers who are upset about all this might not have much recourse. A string of court victories for the airlines predicts trouble for any future lawsuits here. Let's bring in Brian Silber, a former prosecutor. Esther Panich is also with us, a criminal defense attorney. So, Esther, I was looking at some of the history of lawsuits that passengers have brought over changes to frequent flyer programs, and it doesn't look like passengers have a very good track record at winning.
Not at all. They lose just about every time that I've seen. The contract that the program is based upon basically says that the consumer, the flyer, understands that the program can be modified or changed at any time at the discretion of the airline. So when they have so much wiggle room, there is, it's hard to even call it a loyalty program. It seems very disloyal when they can change the terms at any point.
Yeah.
So, it's not good legally for flyers.
Brian, I mean, I was thinking about it. Let's say that, you're not a wealthy person. Maybe you fly once a year, you fly 1,000 miles, or so you've saved up maybe a dozen years to get enough mileage to go, see your long-lost grandmother or something. And all of a sudden, Delta pulls the wool out from under you and says, pulls the rug out from under you, says, hey, it's now going to cost you 50,000 miles to make that 25,000 mile trip. Is that fair? Is it legal?
Listen, excuse me, I'm sorry. I got to tell you that there's nothing more frustrating in the modern world than dealing with airlines. I hate it. I can't stand it. But the truth is, our background is in criminal law. And that has taught us to be very objective and very realistic. And the reality is that this type of case is not one that you're going to win in the courtroom. And she's correct. The answer is this a question of contractual duty? Does the airline have a duty legally to give you these rewards? And the answer is they don't, because when you agree to join their program, you agree to terms and conditions that basically give them all the power. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Now, that may not be nice, that may not be fair, we may not like it, but that's the reality. And the ultimate recourse that I think consumers have is with their wallet. Frankly, if an airline doesn't do the right thing, they give you the runaround, you got to buy from the competitor, and that's where they're going to respond. It's not going to be in the courtroom.
Here's an example, Esther. Continental Airlines used to have a million-miler program where if you flew 1,000,000 miles on Continental, you got all these benefits for life. Then they merged with United. United apparently threw out all those benefits. There was a class action lawsuit from a bunch of those million-milers who no longer had an airline, Continental. They went to court, and the court said, sorry, that's tough luck to you.
It's a problem legally for the consumer, but I agree with Brian. I was just flying twice this weekend, and I went on 2 different airlines because the loyalty program for one that I have accrued miles with wasn't very helpful for my way home. So I went to a competitor because that's all I could do.
Yeah.
But I feel no loyalty, or a lot less loyalty, to Delta, where I have my miles, than I did previously, and which is a shame because I enjoy flying them. But if they're going to not honor frequent flyer customs that they used to, then I'm just going to look for a less expensive flight somewhere else.
Delta put out a statement saying nothing has changed, but it sure seems like they've got a lot of people upset by what they've done. We'll see whether they put the mileage chart back. Esther Panich, Brian, thank you very much for being with us. Brian Silber.
Thank you, John.